Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
And
Welcome to Dietary Lifestyle Transformation. I'm going to mute everyone so we don't have the background noise going on, and we are recording. I had a lot of people ask for the recording after class, and I'm going to do that from week to week so that you have it. We'll be able to upload it onto the Best Health YouTube, and you can view the recordings from there if you need them. All right. I didn't find out until after class last week that you are eligible to win a Wellness First Red Beanie hat if you complete 10 out of the 12 classes. So I've put that in the chat box for you, but if y'all can see this, open it up. There we go. Pretty cool hat. We could probably all use that right now. And attending 10 out of the 12 classes means being in the class. So if you miss the class and you watch the recording, I don't count that as attending the class. So just keep that in mind. If you actually log in and attend 10 out of our 12 classes, you'll get a hat, which is kind of cool. Okay. Our agenda. I had this up last week. I just want to reiterate that we're still optimizing the diet. We are going to get to fasting, but there are two things I want to get taken care of before we get to fasting, and optimizing your diet is very important. Last week we talked about adding whole foods, and this week we will add on to that and talk about being mindful with our meals. Before I get to the new stuff, let's check in from last week. How are y'all feeling? How did it go? I know we had, if you're in the Memphis area or maybe across the country, I'm not sure. I know we had snow last week, so that probably made things more difficult being snowed in. But how did you feel about the transition over to whole foods? You were given the whole food plate. We talked about adding in non-starchy vegetables, adding in protein, adding in healthy fats, using full-fat dairy, fruit, starchy vegetables sparingly, and then rarely using sugar, sweeteners, processed meat, and refined grains. So, thoughts on this? Any questions on this? I had a lot of questions last week. So if you had anything between last week and this week that came up, you're like, let me know. We are working on a food plan for you all. I gave you the Diet Doctor reference for recipes, so hopefully that's been really helpful in just giving you ideas. But we're going to come up with a meal plan specifically for the program that can hopefully make life a little easier and give you even more ideas. And I'll have some more today. The meal plan should be out in the next week or so. It's coming together. All right, no questions on our whole foods. All right, well, feel free to add them in as we go. Let's talk about mindful eating. So, mindful eating is something that we do when we're eating, but it's something that we think about while we're eating. And there's a hunger scale we can use for mindful eating to really hone in on, are we getting full enough? And last week I talked about trying to get to the 3 meals a day. I'm going to mute everyone real quick. Trying to make sure that we're staying full. We're getting full enough for the meals that we are eating. So if we're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, making sure that we're getting enough in those meals to keep us full and get us to the next meal without needing a snack. And we'll talk about more ways to increase our satiety before those meals. But another way to do this is to just ask yourself, how full am I? Now, on the hunger scale of 1 to 10, 1 is starving, dizzy, and irritable. We've probably all been here. This is a terrible feeling. This is too hungry. uh, we want to avoid this. 2 is very hungry, unable to concentrate, and then we're hungry and ready to eat at about a 3, and then beginning signals of hunger coming up to the 4, and then 5 is a comfortable, neither hungry or full. And comfortable, neither hungry or full, should be in between our meals. That should be between our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We should be pretty comfortable. Now, leading up to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's totally normal to have the beginning signals of hunger. And I want to point out that sometimes the beginning signals of hunger can actually be thirst. So if it's not quite time to eat and you're getting these signals of hunger, check in with yourself and ask, am I hydrated? Have I drank any water today? Can I try that first? All right, and then while we're eating, we want to be comfortably full and satisfied at the end of our meal. So we do not want to get over here to the 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10s where we're very full. We think we've overeaten. We all know what that feels like. It's pretty uncomfortable. And then you might be at the uncomfortably full, feeling stuffed. I'm sure we all felt this during the holidays at some point. And then 9 and 10 is very uncomfortably full, stuffed to the point of feeling sick. So we don't want to be in this range. You can see that the scale starts to turn from green to yellow to red. We've eaten way too much. And then over on the left side, from the green, yellow to red, when you get down to red, you've gone too long between your meals. We want to stay up here at the top where we're either comfortably full and satisfied after a meal, or between our meals, we're comfortable and neither hungry or full. Those are our goals. Paying attention to these signals of hunger are very important to know, is it time to eat or is it time to grab some water? And then also paying attention to being very full, as if you've overeaten, paying attention to that as well. What does that feel like? A lot of times when that happens, I end up telling myself, I've got to watch it the next time, right? I've got to pay more attention the next time. And that's just something that we can learn from as we go. It may not be perfect every time. We may get to a meal where we eat just a little bit too much, but being mindful of that and paying attention to that and what that feels like will help us know how we want to feel after a meal. All right, so mindful eating does many things for us. It improves our appetite regulation. So instead of just eating because maybe other people are eating, or it's a certain time of the day, or you see something that looks good, mindful eating is eating when our body is telling us to eat. Mindful eating also prevents the snacking between meals because we're mindful of how much we're eating and if we're comfortably full, if we're satisfied, if we got enough foods while we were eating to keep us satiated between meals. So that can help prevent the snacking. Mindful eating also minimizes our dependence on external rules like calories. So this program in particular, I do not want you counting calories. I want you paying attention to how you feel. I want you paying attention to what foods you're eating and when you're eating and how you feel when you're eating and after you eat and between your meals. We want to move away from the rules like calories in this program so that we can incorporate the foods we need to keep us fuller longer. And that may not correlate with calories and other rules like, well, other people are eating at this time, or other people are eating the food brought into the office right now. We're paying more attention to our body and what it's telling us, what we need, when we need to stop eating, when we need to eat. Mindful eating also increases our body awareness, and that can lead to more sustainable weight loss when we're paying attention to what we need. So instead of following rules, we're listening to what we need. Here's 6 ways to practice mindful eating and the difference between mindless eating and mindful eating. So the first one is mindless eating. We'll eat past full, we'll ignore our body signals. Mindful, we'll listen to our body, we'll stop eating when we're full. Now, this isn't going to be perfect, like I said, and it's going to take practice because we are used to being told that we need to eat everything on our plate. We're used to being told we need to eat multiple times a day. We're used to being told we can't say no when someone offers us food. So being more mindful is going to take practice. Secondly, eating when emotions tell us to eat. This is a big one for folks. If you're eating when you're sad, when you're bored, when you're lonely, people eat when they're happy because other people around them are eating and it's exciting. People eat when they are stressed. That's a big one as well. So trying to find other ways to lean into your emotions without having to use food. Instead, eating when our bodies tell us to. Our body's telling us we're hungry. Our body's telling us our energy is low. Those type of things. Thirdly, mindless eating can be eating alone at random times and places. And mindful eating is eating with others at set times and places. Now, I know we don't always have a chance to eat with others, especially post-COVID, working remotely, those type of things. But eating at set times or places, eating at a table, being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cognizant of I'm eating right now. This is the time I'm eating versus making it completely random, like walking to your kitchen or you're opening your fridge or your pantry and just eating because you see something that looks good. Mindless eating also is eating foods that are emotionally comforting, and that goes hand in hand with number 2. But instead, mindful eating is eating foods that are nutritionally healthy. They're going to help us. And that's what we're working on, incorporating these whole foods so they help us stay satiated. They help us when we get to fasting to make it easier for us. They help us stay healthy. They help us prevent disease. They help us feel better. And which is funny because when we think of foods that we eat for emotional comfort, you would think that they would make us feel better, but typically they don't. They might in the moment, but then afterwards, we typically are like, I wish I hadn't done that. All right, 5 is mindless eating is eating and multitasking. And mindful eating is when we're eating, just eating. And then mindless eating is considering a meal an end product, and mindful eating is considering where our food comes from. And that's something that may be pretty far down the road. But it is something that we can consider as a long-term goal. All right, when we're mindfully eating, when we're between meals, it's really, really helpful. And this is going to help us in fasting too, but also to cut the snacking out and just stick to our 3 meals a day. It's really helpful to fill up on fluids, to stay hydrated. And when you drink coffee and tea, sometimes coffee and tea can dehydrate us. So it's really helpful to add in the water before, after, and in between the coffee and the tea. All right, so we want to fill up on fluids, especially in between meals. If you're feeling like you're kind of hungry, coffee and tea can help that. So I keep tea bags in my drawer at work. I don't keep snacks. I keep tea bags. And I drink tea throughout the day. And I get a combination of decaf teas and caffeinated teas, depending on how I'm feeling. But I love to use tea in between my meals and after a meal. It's really nice. Coffee is great, especially if we do it black. You can add healthy fats to coffee, like half and half or heavy cream. We're going to try to stay away from the 0-calorie creamers. I know people love them. I know they're tasty, but they're full of things, full of ingredients that we do not want. They're highly processed. And they typically have a sweetener in them, which we're also trying to stay away from. So trying to go to black coffee or using heavy cream or half and half, we're going to talk more on that in the coming weeks. I know it's hard. But again, baby steps, if you want to just work your way down, like you could do a little bit of your 0-calorie creamer and then a little bit of the half and half, and just start working your way down and away from the 0-calorie creamers that way, and the sugars. You can baby step it. Water as well. Water's great. Plain, sparkling, it doesn't matter. Both are great. We want to fill up on fats too. And again, I'm going to get more into fats next week, but I just want to touch on this. I did a little bit last week, but adding fats to our meals can help us stay satiated. They can help us stay full. Nuts and seeds are really helpful. Avocados are helpful. Olives, adding olive oil to our cooking. If you're feeling like you're hungry, you're still hungry, you're not quite full at the end of a meal, you can use fats to help. So grabbing a handful of nuts at the end of a meal, slicing up an avocado, having half an avocado. You can also add olive oil, salt, and pepper on top of your avocado to add even more healthy fats and more satiation. Olives, grab a handful of olives. So these are just helpful things if you're feeling like you're not getting quite satisfied with your meal, helpful things to add that to the end. Or you can add it to your meal in general. That's what I like to do. And then we want to reduce sugar and we want to reduce cravings. So more sugar is going to equal more cravings. And I'm going to talk more on sugar. I'm going to talk more on fat. But I just want to touch on it and give you a little preface of what this looks like and why we're trying to get sugar out of the way. We have a sugar roller coaster that occurs when we eat sugar. And it's 0-calorie sweeteners, it's artificial sweeteners, it's natural sweeteners, it's honey. People ask me about honey all the time. It's anything that's sweet is going to do this to our insulin or our cravings. First of all, it increases our serotonin, our beta endorphins, and our blood sugar. So our blood sugar rises, our energy rises, our mood lifts up. It feels good. We like the feeling of eating sugar. There's a reason that we keep coming back to sugar. We have this insulin spike. We have this mood rise. And then it comes back down. What goes up must come down. Sugar comes down. We have the crash. We have the fatigue, the brain fog, but most importantly, even if you don't feel those things, we're going to have more sugar cravings. So when there's sugar in the system, we want more. When we get sugar out of the system, we do not crave it as much. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have cake on your birthday. That's why I put a birthday cake on here. You can have cake on your birthday. When I mentioned sugar last week on the whole food plate, it says sparingly. So you can have it for your birthday. You can have it for your kid's birthday, your husband's birthday. But let's not have it for every single coworker's birthday in the office. You might have 100 people in your office and they might have a birthday, multiple birthdays a week, right? So that can turn into a lot of sugar, and that's not considered sparingly. But you set your own goal for sugar, okay? If you are one of those people that has to have something sweet every day, I want you to set a goal for once a day. If you're someone that has it a couple times a week, maybe you set a goal for 3 times a week. If you're someone who can have sugar once a week, maybe that's your goal. Maybe it's just your birthday. But try to start reducing sugar so we can start reducing these cravings before we get into fasting. It's taking the sugar down and out, if you're ready, can make fasting so much easier when you start it. So trust me on this one, and I'm going to get more into sugar in another week. I want to give you this concept of plating today to go along with more mindful eating. So plating is where we bring all the foods we want to eat onto a plate or the table around your plate, and only starting to eat when you're sitting in front of that plate. We're not eating when we're cooking. We're not eating while we're walking around. We're not eating in our car. We're not eating while we're working, standing in front of the pantry or the refrigerator, or while we're watching TV. You only eat when you're sitting with a plate and you are really paying attention to what you're eating, how much you're eating, and if you're getting full. And eat until you're satisfied. Plating is helpful for mindful eating because it's going to help eliminate the mindless eating on the go that we do, the mindless grazing, and the snacking. So it's consolidating our food onto a plate so that we can be more mindful when we are eating. All right, our goals this week are to continue the transition to whole foods. It's a process. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's not going to be perfect. If you have any other questions on whole foods and how to transition to those ideas for swaps, someone asked me about popcorn this morning. I said, let's try nuts instead. If you need things like that, just reach out and let me know. You can put it in the chat box. Our class chat box, you can always put it there so everyone has it. And then we want to add mindfulness to our meals. Plating is a good way to do this. Paying attention to how much sugar we're intaking is helpful for this. Paying attention to adding fats to our meals, which I'll get into more. Paying attention to these things so that we're helping ourselves naturally reduce the cravings and naturally increase satiety. And then we want to submit our weekly tracker. Hopefully you submitted that today. If not, go ahead and send it in. I'm asking for it prior to class, but anytime today is fine for our first tracker, and then you'll submit your next one next Wednesday. And then my final tips and takeaways. I love a bento style lunch, and it doesn't have to look perfect like this, but I love the idea of just throwing things together that are easy, make lunch easy, and work for the plan. So my tip today is try to make it easy on yourself for lunch if you can. And if you're bringing your own lunch, consider a bento box type lunch where you're adding in some good protein, some healthy fats, maybe a side of fruit to get a little sweetness into your lunch. But I found this one. It's an easy one to do. It's a tuna salad with carrots and celery, hard-boiled eggs. You could easily hard-boiled eggs for the week, some sliced cheese, some grapes. So simple ways to throw together a lunch that works for you. Another thing you could add to this is nuts, of course, or an avocado. You could switch tuna for a chicken salad. You could do like a bean dip instead. And another reason I like this idea for lunch is because it feels like a snack, and people love snacks. So one other thing I wanted to say in my final tips for today and snacking is if you have a snack that you have to have, just go ahead and put it with your meal. I know that sounds crazy, like something you would probably never think to do, but if it's something that you're you're like, I just can't not have it. I need it. Then put it with your meal so it's consolidated into that eating window, and that you're able to get that thing that you can't stop thinking about into your meal, but also consolidate your foods together. It's a win-win. And then if you want, you could do something like the bento box for lunch, throw your snack that you have to have in there too. So that's my tips, final tips and takeaways. Let me get to your questions. All right. Have, let's see, what was the website again? You'll need the website for, let me find it, Diet Doctor. This is the one I gave you last week. And there's tons of ways to navigate this website. I was looking for salad dressings today, and you can type in things like that and find all types of dressings that you could use for salads. I had someone ask me for like a teriyaki sauce. I didn't spell that right. May not be putting that in the right place. So you can find things like that on here as well. Even if you're not going to use this recipe, you might need a teriyaki sauce that works for the plan. You can find things like that on Diet Doctor, which is really helpful. All right. Hearts of palm, non-starchy. I believe that would be correct. Hearts of palm is like artichoke, right? Giving up caffeine, amazing. Okay, can we use Nut Pods creamer? Probably not. So look at the ingredient list on Nut Pods creamer. I was actually doing this earlier today. Let's look it up together. We have a few minutes. Let me see if I can pull the ingredients on one of them. I really want you all to start looking at the ingredient list, and we'll get more into this, and choose things that have like really simple ingredients that you can recognize. So if that's the case, then yes. This one looks okay. Water, coconut cream, almonds, natural flavors. I don't know what dipotassium phosphate with a master's in nutrition. I don't even know what that is. I'd have to Google that one. Sunflower lecithin. I don't know what that is. I know gellan gum is just a thickener. And then I also know from going non-toxic with my cleaning products that natural flavors could mean a whole host of things. So let me just show you what I recommended to someone earlier today and what it looks like. If you were to do something like the simple truth half and half, for example, I'm going to show you the ingredient list on this. It's organic milk and organic cream. So you're getting a lot closer to a whole food with this product compared to something like the nut pod. Now, if you're non-dairy, I can try to find some options for that as well, but this is just one example of getting back to the basics of whole foods. And when we're looking for products and packages, look for fewer ingredients and ingredients that you can recognize. All right, you can use avocado oil, absolutely. The weekly tracker is in the calendar invite, and it's also in the syllabus, so you can find it there. We have a practice of starting a day with honey, lemon, warm water. Is this a good practice? We're trying to knock the sugars, so no on the honey. Lord help me. I need willpower. Your husband works for a candy shop. Candy room in your house? Oh my gosh. Wow, that sounds amazing. Dark chocolate is the way to go if we're going to have candy. Dark chocolate, add some nuts to it to help slow down that insulin response. All right, anything else I can help with? Let me know. I'm going to go ahead and close out for today so I don't keep you over, but email me. Keep putting the questions in the in the chat if you want, and I'll answer them there after class. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.